Hello everyone and welcome back to Brooksburk Zoo, where we are going to have a look at the habitat that we built in the last episode, which was the beautiful habitat for the Saiga antelope in the Garden of the Origins. We're flying over the rhino habitat. They are waking up right now. You can see those little babies around here. Which I still find very awkward because I think the little baby rhinos from the white rhino are way too small. But yeah, that's a different take. So let's walk into the Garden of the Origins, into our second entrance that we built for that area here, and have a look at the antelopes here. Yeah, the Garden of the Origins is a pretty large area. I think it might be the largest if we're not talking about the classic area of the zoo. I think the classic area of the zoo could be a tiny bit bigger, but I'm not quite sure about that. So yeah, we built the last habitat for one of the animals from the habitat animals that we got from the Eurasian Animal Pack. And in today's episode we are going to build the last habitat in the Garden of the Origins. The Garden of the Origins will be finished after this. So we have to go back into the garden for some landscaping and making the whole lake situation look a little bit better. But habitat wise it's going to be the last one. So after that we are going to start with our last chapter in here, the South American area, with maybe 3 habitats or something like that. Let's see where we will go with this. So I asked you guys in the last video what habitat we could or should build here in the Garden of the Origins, right next to the lake. And yeah, some of you told me that you wanted to see a co-joint habitat for the Przewalski horse and the Bactrian camel. And I was thinking about that too, because the area here was big enough to build a nice habitat for those animals. But I didn't want to have another hoofstock habitat in here, because we do have quite some of those in the whole area. And also I didn't want to have another hoofstock habitat right next to the Saiga antelope, because I told you in the last episode it might be a little bit too tight in that area if we're just having another huge fence on the other side of the main path. So yeah, that was the point where I chose not to have that habitat. And then Sonia Lalalu wrote that a habitat for the North American beaver would fit pretty well in here. Yeah, I know it's a North American animal and we are focusing on Eurasian animals in here, but to be fair, the American beaver is also at home in Europe, or all over Europe, and I think in Asia, at least at parts of Asia as well. So I decided I wanted to have the Eurasian beaver in here. Yeah, so that matches a little bit better. So, and if we are going to have a beaver, we also need to have an underwater viewing area. So as I went into this build, I didn't know how to build that, but I knew that I wanted something that didn't look awkward, because many times when you build habitats with underwater viewing areas, you have these huge windows and yeah, maybe sometimes some kind of an awkward staircase that just leads to nowhere in the underground and way deep down below, and yeah, you end up before a huge window where you can see the animals underwater, and I didn't want to have something like that. I wanted it to be a little bit more realistic and natural, and yeah, I also wanted to take up what I tried to build with the Eurasian carnivore house, where I tried to have something very modern that still blends in with the nature around it. So I tried to build something like that for the beaver in here as well. So as you can already see, I lowered down a building into the ground where our guests will be able to walk down over a little staircase. It's not even 4 meters deep in the ground. It's about 3.5 meters or something like that. So yeah. You can see we're going to have the underwater viewing area right in front of here. So the plan was that you can actually go underneath and into the building and have a nice look at the beavers from down here, and that you're also going to have a viewing area on the land where you can see the animals when they are roaming around yeah, on their land area on the upper side of the habitat. It was a little bit difficult to get those windows here or those glass barriers here in the right shape so that it would not look awkward or something like that, but in the end it worked out pretty fine, I think. Yeah, here you can already see we're having the viewing area in here. And I also wanted it to look that almost that the building doesn't exist when you are on the upper side of the habitat. I didn't know if I don't know if I could achieve that, but you will see in the end of the video. Here you can already see you're only going to see a small part on the upper side of the building. Yeah, I was also thinking about what are we going to have in the inside. Most of the times when I do buildings like this, where visitors can go into the building, I have a hard time to do stuff like interior because I lack of ideas many times. So I wanted to have something like, like an exhibit in here, like we do have in the Madagascar house. I don't know if you can remember that, but we had like 2 exhibits for fake animals, so for animals that we do not have in the game. So it was the Madagascan red or something like that, and the Tanrek. Yeah, I wanted to have something similar in here, but with no animals in there. I just wanted to have something like showcasing what the beavers are doing, how they build their dams or stuff like that. So I just put some birch branches in there and some tree trunks, stumps, you know what I mean, and you're going to see in a few minutes, so that we have a little bit of a showcase in here. And to have some kind of decoration at least in there, that the whole room is not that empty. Yeah, it's almost like an aquarium, but with no water in there. So more like a terrarium. Terrarium? What a difficult word in English. Is it what you call it in English, or do you call it a different name? Yeah, just closing the top of it, and then we're going to have some decoration in here. Those fake rocks here. My favorite plants, I think we're going to have the Aristidia grass once again in there, or was I going for the bison grass? I was going for the bison grass this time, yeah. Yeah, I could have easily made this a habitat for mice or something like that. That would also have made sense, but yeah, in the end I thought no animals in here, just showcasing the beaver behavior. And I think in the end it looks pretty nice and fits perfectly in here. So I also wanted to have something special around the walls, because I didn't like those naked walls, and I was thinking, what are we going to do to make it look nice and maybe make it look a little bit more like we were inside the build of the beaver. I just don't know how the builds of the beaver are called in English. Yeah, I even don't know how it is called in German right now, because yeah, to be completely honest, I had a tough night. I went to bed very, very late. It was around 2 a.m. before I went to bed. Yeah, my cat decided to go on an extended walk in the night, and I thought it's going to be only half an hour and I can stay awake until he comes back. So yeah, he proved me wrong. He said, yeah, I'm going to take a longer stroll out there, and he was out more than an hour, and so I was waiting and waiting and waiting, and yeah, finally at 2 a.m. he came home and was ready to go to bed, and I also could go back to sleep. But I did get up pretty early, even though it is Sunday when I'm doing the voiceover here, and yeah, that's why I'm a little bit tired and I'm lacking words once again, which I think I'm doing quite often, to be fair. Yeah, so I used all those dead trees around the build to make it look a little bit more interesting, and I think this is something that I'm going to do in the future as well. Maybe a little bit different, but yeah, I really do like how the whole thing looks in here. Trying to do a little bit more realism so that the dead trees that are in there won't die. So that there's going to be a little bit of fresh air in there. Yeah, some benches for our visitors so that they can sit down in here and enjoy the animals from down under, from underneath the surface. So let's call it like this. So for the outside here, I was covering the staircase with those concrete pieces, and wanted to have something like a planting area around there where you have those kind of plant staircases, if that is actually a thing. You know what I mean. So we're going to have sorry, we're going to have the mulch pieces in there in a second, and I think it will be in the end of the video, we are going to have some plants in here and make it look nice. And I really do like this. Had I planned it out a little more, I could even have made it a little bit more beautiful. But in the end, I really do like how the whole thing looks, and it totally makes sense, I think. Yeah, just need to cover up those gaps in a minute. We're going to do that by using some of the rocks, so that we're closing the gaps between the concrete pieces and here you can see, and the actual terrain. This is also part of trying to make the whole build look a little bit more natural, so placing all those rocks around, covering up those glass wall pieces, glass barrier pieces, and try to blend in the whole building situation a little bit more into the landscape here. Yeah, we're also going to have an interesting roof on top of it. I think we're going to build that in a minute or so. Don't worry, there's no Saiga antelope living here in this habitat. I promise you that one. Yeah, so we are going to build the roof right now. I was using those grass roof pieces that we got in the conservation pack, I think it was, to have something like, yeah, like a natural little hill on top of the whole thing. Maybe in the end I could have used some plants to put on top of it to make it look a little bit more natural, or even covering it up with a little bit of rock work and stuff like that. That would also have been a possibility. Maybe we're going back into the whole roof situation and make it look a little bit different. I just don't know. You can let me know in the comments what you think about it. If you like it, or if I should go back into it and do a little more work on it with, yeah, as I said, with some rocks and plants and stuff like that, so that we actually, sorry, I dropped the stress ball that I have in my hands. Yeah, if we should go back into that. By the way, I also forgot about it, but that is something that is very important to me. I once again noticed that the likes and also the views for some of the episodes in Brooksburk are dropping quite a little bit. I know it depends sometimes on which kind of animal is in the video, for which animal we are going to build, and yeah, there are animals that you guys like to see more than others, but I really would appreciate it if you if you watch my videos and you like what you see, just hit the like button. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't cost a thing, and it helps me out pretty much to help my channel grow and to provide you with many new things that are going to take place on this channel after we finish Brooksburk and also Litchfield Zoo. So if you haven't done that already, just hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you want to, and if you don't want to miss any new stuff that's coming to my channel in the future and the next days and the next weeks. Yeah. So what we are going to do right now is we're going to build the viewing area on top of the habitat. So this is something that is also separate, because you won't be able to have a look into the habitat if you are not going into the house, or if you're not going to walk up here to this elevated viewing area, because there is no chance to see those animals if you just stay on the main path. So you do have to leave the main path to see the beavers in Brooksburk Zoo. Yeah, I also wanted to make this look a little bit more natural and more like a classic viewing area, not too modern. Yeah, maybe I could have put a pillar on there on the sides of the path where it is leading up to the viewing area. I don't think that we do have a beaver statue, do we? That would fit perfectly there, but I don't think we have something like that. I think when we got the North America DLC, it was when some of you guys and me as well did complain about the statues and the signs that we were getting for the animals, because they were very comic-like, and yeah, I wasn't too happy about those, because if you weren't building a zoo in a comic style, in a comedic style, these signs just wouldn't match anywhere. But yeah, it is what it is. You can't beat a dead horse, can you? Okay, so in hindsight, I might yeah, it might not have been the cleverest idea of all to have the fence with those wooden pillars for a beaver habitat. Because yeah, in real life they just would eat their way out of the habitat, I think. Yeah, and here I wanted to have this waterfall in here and covering it up with the dead tree and with some rocks and stuff like that, so that we would simulate something like yeah, like a dam or something, where the water from our lake is floating into this habitat. And I think I managed it quite nicely. I hope I did. So that it actually looks definitely like the water is flowing in here from that side. So that it seems connected to the lake, even though it is not. Doing something that I usually don't do too much, decorating the underwater areas, but if you have something like an underwater viewing area, you want to decorate it at least a little bit, so that it doesn't look too boring, or when your guests are looking into the habitat that they only see plain terrain, maybe colored a little bit, or just soil terrain and the water in it and animals swimming around. That is pretty boring. So take a little bit of time and use some of the underwater plants that we do have in here. Some rocks, some dead trees or something like that. It's that easy to make it look interesting and nice. So I know I don't do it all the time. I'm doing this very seldom, I think, but in this case, when we are going to have an underwater area and you don't have a concrete pool or something like that, that would be the exception. If you don't have a concrete pool, then do some decoration, do some stuff in there. Yeah, and to be completely fair, I thought about building a beaver dam, but yeah, I didn't want to. I'm completely honest with you guys, I didn't want to, because to use those birch tree branches and put one into the other, and no, just no. This would have taken more than a day for me to build something that actually looks nice, and no, not happening. Yeah, what I did here, that is something that I also do with the mud bath from time to time, or all the time, just lowering it into the water, covering it up with some rocks and some dead trees to make it look like it is actually not an enrichment item, but it is part of the whole habitat, so that it looks a little bit more realistic and more like it actually belongs to the habitat and is not something that you put in there. It's not always easy to do that, but with a few tricks you actually can do that. I also made the water color a little bit more transparent, so that you would be able to see the beavers a little bit better when you go underneath and have a look at the animals. So here's some planting going on around here. Once again, we're going to see the planting on the staircase in a few minutes as well, I think. And then we are already good to go to have a pair of beavers in here. And I didn't think that it would actually happen here in Swamp Lake Zoo. I wanted to say in Brooksburk Zoo. But I finally had to turn off the animal well-being, because when I put the beavers in here, they were not happy. They needed more water, which might be fine in real life, But yeah, if you're actually looking at some habitats for beavers in zoos, you won't see those huge water levels for the beavers. You won't see a little pond or pool where they live in, where they can actually build their dam and stuff like that. So yeah, I decided we're not going to make the water in here double, so that we're just turning off animal well-being, and so that they will be okay with their habitat. Yeah, but we are already at the end of the video. I hope you guys did enjoy it. Once again, if you did like the video, please hit the like button, because this helps a lot. And also subscribe to my channel so you don't miss future episodes here in Brooksburk, the last 2 episodes or 3 episodes of Litchfield Zoo, and all the other stuff that is going to take place on my channel in the near future. Yeah, nothing left to say. Have a great time, take care of yourself, and see you next time. Bye guys!